Okay, today, a while ago, I did a video on adjusting the expansion valve. This is a freezer, and we have an expansion valve in here. And the valve at that time was moving up and down a little bit too much. I finally got it into a fair place, but what happened, and that was a while ago, what happened was the compressor that was in there finally died. So just recently I changed the compressor. I put a new compressor on it. I repiped it. The electrical connection, which is over here, was on the other side. I turned the compressor around so that it would be easy to get at the electric. It was between the motor and the fan motor there. Now it's over here where my gauge is hooked on. But here's what we have. I've got it running now, and I just checked the superheat, and I'm not getting a reading on it. And the reason for that is my expansion valve is flooding, and this is why you check superheat. You can see that. See, I don't have a reading on superheat. And the reason, and this is, before we even check superheat, the obvious sign would be, if a valve was open too much, would be, you look at the compressor right here. Let me zoom in a little bit. You see all this frost on the compressor? Okay, that's a big red flag right there. And that's what we don't want. It's okay for this suction line to frost up to here. But if it goes beyond it, then we're having trouble. And that's most likely what killed the last compressor. That old compressor it was about 11 years old. It's pretty good lifespan on that compressor. It took a lot of abuse. But here's what I have right now. My air temperature in the box. The air is almost 10 below inside the box. That's with this new compressor. And my air coming out of the evaporator is minus 16. So minus 10 in and minus 16 out. And that's a difference of 6.9 degrees across this evaporator. And that's the air temperature. Now my tubing temperature is okay, this is the temperature right after the expansion valve. This is the temperature right after the expansion valve, and this is the temperature leaving, the suction line leaving, and this is too cold. This should be like 1 degree to 2 degrees warmer than this temperature. And because it's so cold, we're not absorbing enough heat in the refrigerant and boiling all the refrigerant off. And this is, and that frost on the compressor right there is a sign of that. So let me see, I'm 4 degrees, 5 degrees, 6 degrees too cold right here, leaving. I mean, this is the temperature difference. My TD on the evaporator coil itself should be 1 or 2. And I've got -4, so this is a problem. Now this expansion valve, I tried to adjust it the other day. It was worse the other day. I got it to -4 difference, and that was the best I could do on this valve. If I touched it, it would go all the way up to 15 degrees difference, and if I touched it the other way, it would go all the way down to -10. So it's definitely a candidate to be replaced. And here's what I did. Went to the supply house, and we have a new valve. Now, sizing this valve up, what I did first of all was I made sure I got a valve that was good for 404. And this valve, they make it up at the supply house. There's 3 components. It's the power assembly, it's the body, the style, and then there's a cage, a power cage in here. And to figure out what size valve you want for a system like this, what I did was I got the model number of the compressor over there. Let me see if I can find my point to it here. Oh, there we go. There's the model number of the compressor. It's a CF09. And this is a pretty handy thing here. And what I did was I typed in, I did a Google search right on my phone. And let's see if we can see this better. I did a Google search. And really have to like this. Johnstone Supply puts the records right online for you. Copeland does, but you have to have passwords, and I've spent an hour trying to get onto Copeland's site, and it's just impossible. Very difficult. Here I just have to Google search the number. It comes up on Johnstone, and you just click it, and that easy. And here's your information. Here's your compressor. Here's your compressor model number. And down up. Gotta be careful, can't touch the screen too much. And here's your description. And you can see here that at a -10 evaporator, we're running it colder than that. You have 9,800 BTUs. And 12,000 is a ton, so this is around 3/4 of a ton at -10. Now we'll get down to -20 evaporator, which it is now, so it would be a lot less than this. So we're probably down around 6.5, 7.5 thousand BTUs, which is close to a half a ton. So I got the power assembly for this valve. I mean the cage for this valve that was 1/2 to 1 ton at 404 low temperature. We put it in. That's how we assembled this valve. We chose which valve we wanted. And this I wanted to point this app out because it's very, very, very helpful. Let me see the overview. But this is Johnstone's app. Okay, now what I'm going to do now is reclaim the refrigerant, get everything out, remove the old expansion valve, and install this new one in there, and then pull a vacuum on it, take the nitrogen out, and I've got everything up here to do that. So. Okay, I reclaimed the refrigerant, the CPS and ice bucket, and the refrigerant now is in this reclaimed tank. I'm down to 0 pounds pressure in the system, and what I'm doing is, here's my nitrogen tank. I'm running, this is my blue nitrogen hose, and I'm running nitrogen into the compressor through the system, and it's coming out my yellow hose here, and very slight pressure. And now I'm gonna heat these lines up and pull them out. And that's what we're gonna do right now. That came off fairly easy. Now here's something that a little bit interesting. Relatively hot right now, but this is the equalizing tube, and it was only caught by that much from there to there, just a little tiny bit, just barely caught, and that was a factory weld. Luckily we didn't have a leak on that. Now normally I would solder this in, but I'm going to braze this because the lines are all set, and we have the lines already brazed. And if I soldered, I would have to cut the lines back and clean them. So just for convenience, I'm gonna just re-braze them all. Okay, I've got a 1/2 inch by 3/8 bushing. And this is important. This is your strainer, your screen. This catches anything like copper filings from drilling a hole in the system. You're installing a Schrader valve. I get a lot of flack from people about that, but that will stop anything like that. Dryer filters catch stuff like that. Okay. Okay, try this again. braze on the tubing. Brazing is holding it up. I just have to heat it up and tap it in. Okay, now I gotta get this guy to fit work. Okay. Cool gel. And now it's time for cool gel. That's the, I want to protect the bellows and the innards, the valve as much as possible. Well, I hope that's on liberally enough. Okay. The brazing rods that I use, Dynaflow. They flow nice and they work good. I'm happy with them. Get the wet rag on it, cool it all off. And the back body can get hot. Water is great at absorbing heat. Water absorbs heat 10 times faster than air does. So our water-cooled condensers were really good in that sense.